What is up, everybody? My name is Ryan, and welcome to our Reflections podcast. I'm in Mike's Beats Laboratory in the studio here today, and hey, here is the podcast in one sentence, and then I'm gonna riff on this one sentence. But here it is. Are you ready? This is for you. Hey, today or in the future, just show up. Just show up. That's it. Just show up and see what happens. So there's this woman I was having coffee with last week, and she was telling me a while ago about how she just has this real heart, as she's learning, that a real heart for young people who are maybe considered like misfits. And she just, anytime she's around people like this, like teenagers, and she just has like this compassion for them. And so she's like, Ryan, I just really, really love these kinds of people. I go, hey, you got to explore this. I'm like, just show up and just see what happens. And she's like, I don't know if I'm equipped enough to kind of do any kind of ministry to these people, and I don't know what I even do with them, or I don't know what the next steps would be. I said, listen, here's the deal. Just show up. And God seems to be putting this compassion into your heart and kind of giving you an eye for these kinds of people. And so God's calling you, I think, in some ways to these people. And so just follow the rabbit, It reminded me too, when I was younger, I was asked by the former lead pastor here at Central. His name was Paul Johansson. He asked me to take over this youth ministry department from my dear friend and my uncle-in-law. His name was Kurt. And Kurt was like this long-time youth minister, just an incredible, wise person. He had lots of experience, and he'd been running the youth program for many years before me. And I was going to take over for him, like big shoes to fill, In fact, the morning I got installed, this lady from our church walked up to me, and she was like, well, got some big shoes to fill, and then slapped me on the back and goes, good luck, and then just walked away. I was like, oh gosh, thank you. But I noticed like the entire month or two, I forget, leading up to this time when I would take over, I felt, it was weird. I sort of lost my appetite. Like I literally lost my appetite. I couldn't eat, and I wasn't hungry, which is not like me if you know me. And it was so bizarre. And I realized I was so stressed out because I was just nervous and worried that I wouldn't be as good as Kurt, that I wouldn't know what I was doing, that the machine would gobble me up or bowl me over, and that I'd fail. Like ultimately, I think I was afraid I would fail. And I remember going to this movie. It was called Kung Fu Panda. Maybe you've heard of this movie, Kung Fu Panda. And I remember, like in the movie, it's a weird movie, but in the movie, he's like the projected or prophesied about, Dragon Warrior, and he has to go to this room and get this scroll, and in the scroll will be like the secret message he needs to have to become the Dragon Warrior, and he finally makes it there, and he opens it, and it's empty, and the idea in the movie is like, hey, dude, you're the Dragon Warrior just because you're the Dragon Warrior. Now, hang with me, because I think like in that moment, like God totally spoke to me. It was like, Ryan, I've called you to be in this place, to be the next youth director at Central, and I wouldn't have called you if I didn't think you could do it. So just show up and let's see what happens. And I'm not kidding. I was in the movie with my mom. This is years ago. My son, I think both my sons were there, and I just started like tearing up. I almost started crying, and I was overwhelmed by this idea that God had called me here just to go for it and just show up. So today, I don't know what it is that you're like maybe stressing out about or nervous about, or places where you feel ill-equipped or not good enough, but I'm telling you, just show up. Show up. Remember that you belong there just as much as anybody else belongs there, and what's the worst that could happen? Show up, keep your eyes open, your heart open, take the risk, follow the rabbit, see what happens. I was having a conversation with Greg Boyd. He's this pastor in town, and he's written many books. He's brilliant. He has his PhD from Princeton, and we were talking one day, this is years ago. He goes, hey, dude, Ryan, I'm convinced that the folks in the world that do amazing things like the Jeff Bezos of the world or the Steve Jobs of the world, he goes, I'm convinced that they're not that much smarter than you and I. And I go, oh, you think you and I are at the same intelligent level? Like you have a PhD from Princeton. I do not, I'm like, but I'll take it. Thank you. He goes, I'm convinced they're not that much smarter than you and I. What it is they just weren't afraid to show up and give it a chance or give it a try when a lot of us are. And I was like, dang. Now, I think there are certain levels of intelligence and IQs and those that come into play. But man, honestly, I think he's not entirely wrong. Many of us are just too afraid to try it. But what if we just showed up? And I think half of life really is just showing up. And pray as you're going, and ask others to pray in your circle of friends and mentors and family. Pray, ask others to pray. Ask for advice along the way. Find other folks who are doing the thing that you want to do, or the thing that you've been invited to do but you don't feel good enough to try. Just start finding others in that same realm and just, hey, can I buy you a coffee? And can I pick your brain and let me learn from you for even 5 minutes or a half an hour? Or you know what? It's 2024. Google advice on this topic. Read a book or two. There's millions of books out there. But show up, take a risk, and remember, if God has called you there, He will help you. He'll equip you. There's already enough in you to just go for it. You can train along the way, but show up, remember that you belong there, and do the best you can and see where it takes you. I think life can be such a blast and mysterious and full of wonder and magic if we did it. So today, you have my permission to just show up and give it a try. All right, love you guys. Peace. Hey, if you enjoy this show, I'd love to have you share it with some friends. And don't forget, you are always welcome to join us in person at Central in Elk River at 8:30, which is our liturgical gathering, or at 10 o'clock, our modern gathering. Or you can check us out online at clcelkriver.org. Peace.